In the news this week, the State Liberal Party under siege with rumours of a leadership challenge.
Plus, metro taxi drivers enrage as the government reforms laws to legalise Uber.
And on Western Perspective, from in demand to out of work, the dark side of on-demand travel services in Australia.
This is the Evening News with Ivan Lung and Daniel Staniskov.
Good evening. There are rumours of instability within the State Liberal Party as the polls worsen for Premier Colin Barnett and his team. While senior ministers pledged their loyalty, some members said a leadership change should be considered, yet polls remains bad after July's federal election.
With the state election looming soon, the polls are not favouring state Liberals. According to the Australian newspaper, the poll shows that WA Labor is leading with 54%. Opposition leader Mark McGowan received 46% as preferred better Premier. Senior Minister Mike Nahan expressed his loyalty to the Premier, despite reports of his intention to call for a leadership spill.
We are a team working on an issue. It's the issue that counts, not who's leader and whatnot. Colin's the leader, and he, I trust, will remain there for a long period of time.
Although Deputy Premier Lisa Harvey made it clear that Liberals are united behind Premier Barnett, State Upper House member Phil Edmund believes a leadership challenge should be considered if polls remain bad after the federal election. Dylan Webstane, WAMN News.
The war between taxi and Uber has escalated this week as the state government introduced legislation to legalise a ride-sharing service. Frustrated taxi drivers claim they have lost a large amount of money because of the drop in the value of their licences. They said an adjustment help fund isn't enough to cope with their needs.
Unhappy with the reform, more than 30 frustrated taxi drivers showed up at Parliament House this week demanding to see the Transport Minister. Concerns have been raised about whether taxis are able to compete with Uber on a level playing field. Cabbies are now demanding more compensation.
The regulations that we've had to abide by over all these years, and then all of a sudden those have been wiped out and we don't have any recourse whatsoever.
Under the reform, Uber vehicles will have to pay an omnibus licence fee of $272. However, hail and rank work will remain exclusive for cabbies only. The state government has introduced a transition assistance and hardship package totalling $26 million as compensation, but the opposition believes the amount isn't enough.
The government's announced a $6 million hardship package, and its criteria is that if people can demonstrate financial loss in the industry. Well, I think that's going to be probably wider than the $6 million.
Meanwhile, Transport Minister Nalder argues that the reforms will provide affordable and reliable transport services through deregulation. He doesn't believe that the changes will drive out taxi owners who have fewer resources.
We still see the opportunity for a sole trader, because what they'll be able to have is multi-affiliation, and we'll go down the path of dispatchers only being able to charge a transactional fee.
Eunice, WAMN News.
Power companies are urging residents to prepare for disruptive storms by making sure trees and branches are well away from high voltage power lines. Western Power says more than 60% of electricity failures have occurred from tree branches hitting power lines. The Bureau of Meteorology says storm weather is set to hit WA's southwest in the next few months as winter approaches Australia.
Storms are coming at this time of year, and it's a reminder to the public to do the right thing by themselves, that is, prepare, and also to warnings about the danger of downed power lines.
But we're hoping for no damage, but in the event that some occurs, we will respond quickly, but we would ask for the public to do their part.
Activists are demanding the government to reverse a proposal to allow other genetically modified crops to be planted in the state. Currently, the law only allows GM canola be planted in Western Australia. Protesters also wanted the government to ban pesticide spraying on public land. The opposition is calling for an inquiry into the impacts of herbicides and pesticides into human health.
We've got to know the facts. How much pesticide, how much herbicide actually gets into our food chain, and what's the impact of that on our human health?
It is a serious problem, and we can't keep using pesticides the way we have been doing.
Extraordinary videos of a roof collapse in Hong Kong City University have gone viral on social media. 3 people were injured in the accident, but no lives have been lost. Drone footage shows the extensive damage of the building after the roof crumbled and smashed onto the ground floor. It's reported that the roof fell just one day before a banquet catering 300 students was to be held. The government has established a 5-member panel to investigate the incident.
Survivors of the Hiroshima atomic bombing have demanded an apology from US President Barack Obama. The leader of the survivors group says many are still wanting an apology, claiming survivors have suffered both physical disability and social discrimination after the attack. At least 200,000 people were killed after the United States dropped 2 nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, ending World War II. President Obama will be visiting Hiroshima after the G7 summit meeting in Japan.
And finally tonight, the University of Western Australia is giving West Australians a first-hand look of what it's like to be young and Muslim in the country. The university's Here and Now exhibition showcases works reflecting lives for post-9/11 construction of Muslim identity. The exhibition runs at UWA's Lawrence Wilson Gallery until mid-July.
Sort of offer very individualised human stories on how these particular artists have sort of rationalised their identity as a Muslim. And from a lot of the artists, their refugee and migrant background is very common sort of Muslim Australian experience to be first generation or to be a refugee or to be a migrant. They're always connected to other communities.
And those are the stories you need to know this week. We have the latest news on our website and Facebook.
Here's Nelson Liu with Western Perspective. Good night.
Good night.
Thanks, Ivan and Danielle. Hello and welcome to Western Perspective. I'm Nelson Liu.